government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish.
Of the people, by the people, for the people.
And that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Good evening, everybody. Chris McDonald, Mac Files, on a Wednesday night, October the 5th, 2016, just 32 days away from Election Day here in America. On November the 8th, 2016, between Hillary Rodham Clinton and Donald J. Trump. One night following the presidential debate that saw Tim Kaine embarrass himself and his party and his candidate, and Mike Pence show a lot of class. We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk a few things about Michelle Obama, her comments out on the campaign trail. We're going to talk about Al Gore jumping into this race today, which is absolutely hilariously funny. But, bring it on, Al. We're ready to hear your stupidity, too. The reason why they're bringing him in is going to be funny, and we'll talk about that as well, too. But we also want to talk tonight about this Hurricane Matthew that's coming up, the Bahamas tonight. Very dangerous storm, a Category 3 storm. They're thinking it may even be a Category 4 by the time it reaches the Florida coastline near Daytona Beach, either early Friday afternoon or possibly even late tomorrow night. And we have a lot of family down there near Florida. We have a lot of dear friends in Jacksonville, Daytona, all up and down that coastline, or Orlando, Miami, and then if you go into Georgia, Savannah, Charleston, that area up in there, a lot of dear friends up there, business people we photographed and through the years and known, and we love dearly, and we just send a salute out to you guys tonight. We're going to talk about Matthew a little bit more in detail here in a minute on the podcast, but we just want to get that out of the way tonight. But we're so glad that you're with us tonight, and again, we want to get right to this podcast and talk about the big story today was the rumble in the jungle up in Virginia last night between these two gentlemen. That's Mr. Tim Kaine on the left, Mr. Mike Pence on your right there, and they went at it last night for about 90 minutes, but they really and truly didn't go at it. They just talked over each other and talked over the moderator, and very unfair debate. Again, and folks, these moderators are getting to the point that I just can't stomach to watch the whole thing. I mean, it's just hard to watch it. And I talked to a lot of people last night. They didn't watch it. They couldn't stomach it either. The few that could stomach it could only stomach it for about 10 minutes, and they turned it off because it was so unfair, so distorted. Again, with this moderator from CBS, this lady, totally out of her league. Pence was basically berated with questions. He would not finish his sentences without Kaine interrupting him. There's a story out today, Kaine interrupted Pence 72 times in 90 minutes. Folks, that's almost one a minute. And again, that's just being ugly and rude. And the irony of that is that was the charge by the Clinton campaign about Donald Trump in his first debate with her, that he was always interrupting Hillary, and that was the Republicans' take, and all these people out here that worry so much about what Donald Trump says and not about what she does. And I'm going to just say something real ugly to get all this podcast started, but I swear to God, we need to get our delicate sensibilities and throw them in the trash. This is politics 101, folks. This is politics. This is not tiddlywinks. This is not Monopoly. This is the major leagues, the NFL of electing a president. And Donald Trump, he ruffles feathers, and people get all offended by that. And we just need to stop letting what he says get to us as the American public and realize it's Donald Trump. The very fact that Donald Trump sits on the precipice of the presidency tonight is precipitated on this very thing that he beat 17 other established politicians who read their lines, who memorized their lines, who was polite, who never fought back, who never said anything wrong. And we did that for 2 presidential cycles with John McCain, and we did it with Mitt Romney, and we got Barack Obama for 8 years. And we got a little different firebrand this go around. We got somebody that speaks from the hip. He tells things that irritate people. He says things that get under people's skin. His demeanor offends people sometimes. But when you start listening to what Donald Trump is saying, he's telling the nation what it needs to hear, not what we want to hear. And that's the problem with the country right now. We don't want to hear the things that he's telling us, because we're so engrafted into this narrative that the status quo is okay and we don't need to change things. Folks, and only people that are benefiting and basically riding the government for free believe that. Things have got to change. We're $20 trillion in debt. We're at the bequest of the United Nations, China. These trade deals are killing us. Our country's going bankrupt. And we worry a little bit whether Donald Trump said something nasty 20 years ago about a porn star criminal Miss Universe. And it blows me away how this issue last night again came up about his taxes. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute about Hillary's taxes, because she, has been slamming Trump on the trail the last few days about, he's been un-American because he didn't pay any income tax. And the truth of the matter is that she took the same deduction, the same capital gains loss deduction that Donald Trump did. Guess what? Bill Gates did it. Bill Gates did the same thing. And there's another gentleman that did it too, and I'll show you him in a minute. And but this debate last night was, again, another lowball, dirty ditch effort by the Democrats not to talk about issues, but to trash Donald Trump. And it did not work this go around. Hillary won round one because the media and the pundits all saw Donald as being the rude one. Well, last night the tables got turned. It wasn't Pence being rude. It was Tim Kaine being rude. And everybody today, even in the Democratic circle, said, Mike Pence was as cool as could be. He answered the questions calmly. He didn't let Kaine get under his skin. And I just hope these are things that Donald Trump learns from watching his vice presidential candidate, that he'll do the same thing this coming Sunday night against Hillary. And if he will do what his vice presidential candidate did, Donald Trump walks out of this next debate very well on his way to the presidency. I don't believe these debates change a whole lot of minds. I think the media overrates them a little bit. It said last night that 29% of the people that watched the debate claimed that they changed their vote from Hillary to Trump. I don't put a lot of stock in that. I think people have pretty much made up their mind, except for a very few percentage of people, of Americans, about 11 to 12%. And the funny thing about the polls that are showing right now is that Donald Trump is trouncing her with the independents. He's up like 43 to 21. And in some polls, even up more. So he's doubling her almost 2 to 1 with the independent vote. Those are the people that still have not decided yet where this election is going to go. And but I just want to say this, a couple of just general comments about the debate. And again, I didn't watch it. I don't want to get into specifics. There's a few things I want to mention that I did read online this morning that Pence said that I'm very proud of him for. But I'm just going to throw this out. I'm going to throw this thought out tonight. It would behoove the Republican Party to stop letting these people do this to them in these debates. And what I mean by that is don't debate. I think if the Republican National Convention and Reince Priebus, Donald Trump, and the entire machinery, Kellyanne Conway, sent a letter to CNN, the Nothing But Clinton Network, the Clinton News Network, the MSNBC, More Blank, Nothing But Crap Network, I think they would get the message that you're not going to stick your liberal moderators in these debates, trash our candidate, not give them a fair shake, and then expect us to just let you do it. Let me tell you something, folks. Hillary Clinton would not take a damn second if it was Fox News doing these debates and it was Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity, and even Chris Wallace is not going to be easy on her as the first two have been. I can assure you Chris Wallace is going to be a tough cookie for both Donald Trump and Hillary in that last debate. But Hillary Clinton would never agree in a million years if somebody like Hugh Hewitt, Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, any of the Herman Cain, Laura Ingraham, any of these conservative people that are on talk radio, or any of these these media people that are more conservative leaning than these liberal douchebags that are doing it. Let me tell you something. She would never step foot in that arena in a million years. Never. And that's why it gets frustrating to me while the Republicans keep doing it on their end and sticking theirself in their arena. And they don't need to do it no more. I just wish that these debates would go away. I don't really see the purpose of them. Ultimately, if it's a stacked deck against you, and you're fighting off both the moderator and your opponent, folks, nobody wins there. You know, it reminds me of a scene, and I know some of you are going to laugh to tell you how old I am, but there was a scene of one of my favorite movies of all time in the 1980s was the Karate Kid series. And, you know, I remember Pat Morita, the late Pat Morita, the great Arnold from Happy Days. He played Miyagi. And Ralph Macchio played a young man that was getting beat up by some of the local punks, and Pat took him down to the karate dojo, and he said, you know, if you'll leave this kid alone, he'll enter the tournament, you'll have your fight. And this you know, jackanapes gets in his face and says, well, you don't think it's fair, you know, if it's the odds, then we'll fight him right here. And Miyagi said, this is your dojo. You know, fight one-on-one, fair fight. Fight 1-on-5, nobody fights fair. And folks, that's what it's like. It's what I watched last night and heard about last night with Mike Pence. He wasn't just dealing with Tim Kaine. He was dealing with the moderator again. Donald Trump was not just fighting Hillary. He was fighting Lester Holt. And it's always the Republicans that take that shot. They always get hit like that. And I just think it's time for them to stand up and to be heard and say to these networks, say to these liberal commentators, you're not going to do it to us no more. And I think Reince Priebus, that falls on him and the Republican National Committee. They need to stop it right now and say, until you get fair and you put moderators up there, they're going to stick their nose out of our business and let our candidate have their say without interference. We're not going to debate anybody anymore. Because, again, I guarantee you this, Hillary Clinton would never step foot on that debate stage if Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity was sitting in that chair asking her the questions. She'd never do it. If Rush Limbaugh was being one of the moderators, she'd never do it. And, you know, there's not very many people out there in the media that's conservative anyway. So she knows she has this monopoly. Tim Kaine last night shamed himself with the rudeness. Every Twitter feed that I read this morning, every one I read, every one of them, it was like 99-1, said last night that he did not do his party well. He did not do himself well. He did not do Hillary Clinton well with his attitude last night to Mike Pence. And this is a creepazoid individual who will be one breath away from the presidency of the United States if Hillary Clinton wins this election in November. And as I said, I don't want to get into the specifics of the debate except for one thing that I want to give a big shout out to Mike Pence about. And I want to just say this about Mike Pence. When Donald Trump picked Mike Pence, I was actually hoping that he would go with you. I really did. And then when he picked Mike Pence, Donald had his reasons for picking him, and I supported it. And I said, well, that's great. He's a conservative guy, real low-key Christian guy, real religious, very spiritual, and there's nothing wrong with those qualities, folks, nothing. We need to salute those in America, even though the liberal media mocks them and makes fun of them. And I watched him a little bit in the clips this morning, and I watched his demeanor as Tim Kaine was just being so rude and hateful, interrupting him, saying things that just wasn't true again, calling out little snippets about Trump and his taxes, and Mike just sit there very calmly and coolly and just answered him in such a calm way. But the discourse really turned last night when that moderator asked a question about partial birth abortion. Mike Pence looked into that camera and he told the American public, he said, it is morally reprehensible for any doctor and any woman to have a partial birth abortion performed. Now, for those of you out there that do not realize what a partial birth abortion is, pardon the graphicness what I'm about to say, but this is what that means. A partial birth abortion is not just any abortion. The baby's head is outside the woman's womb. The doctor takes the baby's head and they basically crush the skull while the baby is half alive coming out. That's why they call it partial birth. The baby is partially alive when they're doing it. This nation under Barack Obama, and it goes back to Bill Clinton, they basically approved this. George Bush stopped the practice while he was president. But Bill Clinton and Barack Obama has opened the floodgates for it with executive orders. If Hillary Clinton's elected, you can be sure that she will do it again. If Donald Trump is elected, he's vowed to stop it. Mike Pence had the moral courage last night to call it for what it was, and that is murder. He said it's morally reprehensible. And he said we have a moral obligation in this country to stop it. And I don't care what your views are about choice, life, freedom, civil rights, or whatever, folks. When we start murdering babies in a nation, in any civilized society, for whatever reason, we have lost our humanity. We have lost all sense of humanity. And I salute Mike Pence tonight for taking a stand and not caring what the liberal press said about it, and these women rights groups and these feminists. He didn't care last night what they said. He stood on his moral character. He stood on his principles, and I salute him for that tonight. Because God knows we need some politicians with some guts. Talked to a friend this afternoon, and one of the main reasons Donald Trump is on this precipice of being a president, the Republicans had 8 years to deal with this issue. They had 8 years to deal with outlawing partial birth abortion forever, without even being an executive order. They could have outlawed this. They could have outlawed a lot of these practices that have basically drenched our nation with blood. 48.5 million babies, folks. 48.5 million babies since 1973 have been slaughtered. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. That is wrong for any nation to practice baby murder. I mentioned on last night's podcast Margaret Sangster, who is basically the founder of Planned Parenthood, and her views on that. And I meant to get this graphic that I had the other day about what she said about babies and what she said about black babies, and why she supported the killing of black babies and babies in general. Population control, that's what she felt like we needed in America. And she's Hillary Clinton poster girl. That's what Hillary Clinton holds up everybody as a standard for women's rights. I'm going to tell you something, folks. That's not women's rights. That's just flat baby murder. That is baby murder. And I got some dear friends, and I know that they agree with me on most of my political stuff, and this is one area where they may fall away. And again, I'm not saying this to be offensive or mean to anybody. It's not about a choice, folks. It's not about rights. Who is screaming up for the babies? Those babies have got rights too. Those babies have got rights. Who is speaking out for them? And this man right here on the right of my screen tonight, I'm going to tell you something. Of all the things that I read about that debate last night, I was most proud of that one moment with him more than anything else. And Tim Kaine, who claims he's a Catholic Christian, basically stood there and said that if Hillary Clinton's elected, that there will never be a stop to any of this. That they will never allow the Supreme Court to go in a direction that would halt abortion. They would never allow the Supreme Court to put a stop to this baby killing in our country. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. I say this from a personal standpoint, and I say this from a spiritual standpoint. The blood of those babies are going to be held accountable on this nation's hands by God one day. Mark my word. Their blood screams from the ground of this land to a God above that is not blind to one baby that has been killed. Not one. You can call me mean, you can call me hateful, you can call me whatever you want to call me tonight, but I'm going to tell you something. The blood of those babies is going to be held on account to this nation if it's not stopped. China right now forces their women to have abortions because they don't want the population to go too high. If we keep on going down this road in America, women and ladies, those of you that think this is just a joke, you wait till this country starts doing that here in America. And then it won't be a joke anymore. And all this bloodletting that you think is so funny behind clinics and you think so grand that you can have the right to do what you want to do with the baby in your womb, you're going to find out real quick just how serious an issue this is. And yeah, I'm a little tense about this because, folks, I'm going to tell you something. The more I thought about it today, the more I've given thought to this, what Mike Pence did last night. This man's a good man. He's a good man. And God knows we need more people like him speaking out about this bloodletting in our country, because it is a stain and it is a disgrace on any civilized society. There have been many things that have destroyed nations and empires in the past, and one of the main things that destroyed Rome and destroyed Greece and destroyed Babylonia and all of these empires that have ruled the earth, Egypt, every one of them, there's a common denominator and a thread that run through it. And one of the things that they all did, they killed innocent blood. It was the murder of babies, the murder of children, And they basically allowed the adults to slaughter children without conscience. And I'm going to tell you, we're on the precipice of that in this nation tonight. But again, that is where I wanted to salute Mike Pence, because he took a stand last night, and he needed to take a stand. Donald Trump has taken a stand. Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine are cowards because they're saying they're going to allow it to go on. And folks, if they can't protect the life of a baby, look at me in this camera tonight. Can you believe that they'll protect your life? If they cannot protect the life of an innocent newborn baby, an unborn baby, why in the hell do you think they can ever protect you, or will? I'm going to say something I've said many times, and I know this is going to probably draw a little angst out there. I remember back about 9 years ago now, and I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. I remember there was a quarterback that we used to have in Atlanta, and he got arrested for basically racing pit bulls and then taking them and killing them. I mean, that's what he did. I mean, they would race the pit bulls, and if the pit bull lost, they would string them up and kill them. Country got in an outrage over it. He went to jail for like 3 years for cruelty to animals. It was crazy. Felony. Went to jail for 3 years. And my question tonight is this, simple one. May make you mad, but I'm going to ask it. How is it that we've become a nation that cares more for the blood of dogs than we do for the blood of innocent babies that have been slaughtered in abortion clinics all over this country and all over the world? Folks, when a nation cares more about the blood of dogs, and I'm not trying to lighten what he did. Mr. Vick was terrible in what he did, and he spent 3 years in jail for it. But I'm going to ask you a question tonight. How many years and how many months are these mamas spending who kill their own babies? Where's my camera? They're not spending any time in jail for that. And when a nation devalues life, folks, when a nation devalues life, I don't care how they do it, whether it's through abortion, whether it's through child abuse, child murder, whether it's whatever. And all this violence that you see in our nation, folks, is just a devaluing of life. We don't care about life anymore in America. It's like people get offended when you say all lives matter. Folks, all lives do matter. Whether they're young, old, black, white, green, all lives matter. But I'm going to tell you something. When a nation starts being more upset over the blood of dogs than they are over the blood of human beings in a woman's womb, we have got nothing but apostasy and debauchery and anarchy and evil and wickedness that covers our land. That is wicked. And the God above, sees it all. And mark my word tonight on this 5th day of October of 2016, if this bloodletting don't stop in this nation, God is going to hold us accountable as a nation. What we're doing in this country, we're not doing it in the dark. We're doing it against light. God has given us great light. He's told us the right way. We know what's right and wrong in America. It's not like we're in some backwoods country in Africa. He knows and he sees what we're doing. And he's not happy with it. And our judgment is going to be swift, and it's going to be sure if we don't stop. And I say that tonight not as a political statement. I'm saying it as a spiritual statement. I'm saying it as somebody who feels heartbroken over the 48 million babies that have been slaughtered in our land and under the name of Roe v. Wade and under the name of pro-choice and under the name of women's rights and under the name of civil rights, when there's nobody speaking out for the rights of that unborn baby. And again, when we devalue life and we put more emphasis on the blood of dogs than we do human beings, folks, we have lost all humanity. And we have lost all civilized sense. And again, I salute Mike Pence last night for his stance and for him being brave enough to look into that camera and tell us all that it is morally reprehensible for any nation, including this one in the red, white, and blue, to support partial birth abortion in any form, shape, form, or fashion. He did not back down. And I salute him for that tonight. All right. Let me move on a little bit. I want to pull something up here. It was funny. And I'm going to try to get my candidates off the air here, and then I'll pull this one up that I want. There they go. I want to show you something that Michelle Obama said the other day on the campaign trail, and then we're going to change course a little bit. This is hilarious. This is Michelle Obama is out basically campaigning for Hillary Clinton, as you know, and she said this back on Monday. Today's Wednesday. This was said 2 days ago, and somebody put this up in a meme, and I wanted to share this with you. It says, quote, "A president just can't pop off or lash out irrationally. No, we need an adult in the White House." And as you can see, Barack Obama is crying that she is saying that underneath her statement because he may think he's talking about her. She's talking about him. You know, who's been the adult in the White House? And again, folks, listening to Hillary Clinton and all them talk, I mean, my goodness, what a mess. What a mess. All righty. Talk about something else tonight a little bit. Another thing that came up last night again was Donald Trump and his treatment of women. And I'm working with some new folks this week, and I asked the wife of my friend that's we're getting into some different realms of things we're doing, and I just looked at her. I said, "You're a woman. Let me ask you something." I said, "Has anything Donald Trump ever said offended you as a woman?" And she just started busting out laughing, and she says, "I work in an auto body shop," and she said, "I've heard far worse in the break rooms than anything Donald Trump has ever said about women in public." And she was meaning that very sincerely, and she says, "No, I've never gotten offended at it." She said, "But I got tough skin," and she said, "Women that are either, you know, they're either you know, very offended by anything, or they're just not really listening." And she said, honestly, she said, a lot of the stuff that he said has been 20 years past, not recent. And but I want you to look at this. I want you to look at what Hillary said about Bill's women. And this is amazing how that if I'm Donald Trump, I've got these lines memorized for Sunday night, because it's going to come up again, folks. Mark my word. These CNN people are not going to let him get away with get through this debate without saying something about you know, doing it. And anyway, but this is what she said. She referred to Jennifer Flowers as trailer trash. Wow, that's rich, Hillary. She called Monica Lewinsky a narcissistic Looney Tune. Wow, never saw that one on the media during this last week. But hey, folks, anybody, this is Ben Shapiro's quote, anybody who makes cruel and insulting comments about women shouldn't be president. Now, can we get an amen on that? Because that's what Hillary said. That's what she said at the debate. Anybody that makes cruel and insulting comments about women should not be president. And the thing is that, you know, if Donald Trump says something, it gets front page news for 2 weeks. Hillary Clinton has been saying this stuff for 30 years, and they never mention it. They never talk about what she has said about women and the ugly things that she has said. And again, that's just a part of this debate process that is so unfair and so stacked. And, you know, it's at a time and a point that, you know, people need to realize that this thing is never going to be fair. Now, let me put up one other thing, then I'm going to change gears a little bit, and then we're going to head on out. That's Hurricane Matthew. I don't want to talk about that. Hang on just a second, folks. I need to label these things. Here it is. Going back to the tax issue, and this came up again last night too. And again, this is sort of about the debate last night, but I want to show you this right here. These are 3 of Donald Trump's hardest critics about his tax deductions, okay? What kind of genius loses $1 billion, she said, in a single year? Well, guess what, Hillary? You're the genius that lost the State Department $6 billion. Of course, you didn't remember that you did in 4 years. State Department suffered a $6 billion loss during the time that she was Secretary of State. But on a single day in June, Microsoft billionaire Bill Gates lost $1.8 billion. Single day in September, billionaire Warren Buffett lost $1.4 billion. And on her 2015 tax return, Hillary Rodham Clinton reported capital losses in the amount of $699,000. So if Donald Trump is not a genius and he's so dumb and he has business losses, I guess Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and you, Hillary, are in the same boat. Because again, facts seem to get lost in these people's comments about Trump. And they always forget about the facts that people can Google stuff and they can see that you're just as guilty, you're just as bad. You took a $699,000 capital gains loss last year, and what you do, the reason you take that, because you funnel your money into the corrupt Clinton Foundation so you can write it all off and act like that it's not income. So, better that Donald Trump be a straight loser when it comes to business, in your mind, Hillary, than to be a crooked person who funnels money into a crooked foundation for crooked reasons and then writes it off with no conscience, but you can slam Trump like a hypocrite for his tax returns. And again, that came up last night in the debate too, and Mike Pence handled it very, very well, I thought. All righty. Now, and this is a little meme I saw today, and I do want to talk about this just briefly, and then we're going to change course and call it a night. Somebody sent me this today. It says, Trump says, hey, I didn't lose $6 billion in taxpayers' money. Hillary did. Trump lost $9.15 million of his own money. Hillary lost $6 billion of our money, which is worse. And then this also about I did not steal furniture from the White House. I don't know if you folks remember it, but Hillary and Bill had to return nearly $275,000 of stolen furniture from the White House when they left it in 2000, when they left, when the Bushes moved in. And I've heard people say, oh, they didn't take it. They took their own personal stuff. It was not stolen. No, it wasn't the White House stuff. Well, I ask you a question, folks. They're saying that. If it wasn't their stuff, why did they return it? If it was theirs, why did they have to return it? Why did they take it back? Yeah, it wasn't theirs. It was the White House's. And they took it back. But yet again, all that you hear about is the Democrats talking about Trump's taxes and his tax return. And folks, I ask you this question tonight. I ask it to some folks today, and I'll say it tonight on my podcast. At what point do the Democrats have anything else to talk about other than Trump's taxes, the birther issue, and his comments 20 years ago about a porn star, criminal, drug user, former Miss Universe? I don't think they got a lot to talk about. And that's their problem tonight. And it's sad. Because, you see, they just don't care about nothing but trashing Trump. And that's been her strategy from the beginning. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit of weather here, and then I'm going to say goodnight. It's been a sort of wild podcast tonight, but I want you to show you a few things here about, here we go. This is, I want you to look at this image here. What a scary looking image. Folks, this is not a photoshopped image. This is taken off the Drudge Report this afternoon. My brother sent it to me. This is what Matthew looked like over Cuba yesterday before it started making its jaunt to the northeast, and then it sort of, well, actually northwest. This is Jamaica, Haiti, that area down there in the Caribbean. And that is a creepy, creepy looking image. And that is a scary looking image. My friend, Angela Gomez, who are they're like family to me. We've photographed their family so many times over the last 3 or 4 years. She sent me this picture here. This is what the Jacksonville coastline looks like. And I don't have a pointer here on my computer, and I wish I could point to you, but where you see that water right there at the grass, I photographed her daughter there just 2 years ago where that water is right now. And that's how much water is coming up into Jacksonville. And they are destined for a very, very nasty couple of days in Florida. Another image I want to show you right here, we'll save that one for last. That's Hillary again. We don't need to talk about her anymore. I'm trying to find some pictures that we uploaded. Maybe we didn't upload all of them. Maybe we did. Here we go. Yes, we did. I want to show you this. This is the track of Matthew over the next couple of days. And again, we're just saying these things, folks, because we want to give a shout out to our folks in Florida tonight to be really careful and let you know we are really praying for you guys down there. Look at this track. This is what the National Hurricane Center believes is going to happen with Matthew. It's right here tonight down at the bottom where it says 4. That's Thursday night. This morning it's basically came up, or by Thursday at 8 o'clock, it's going to be right over the Bahamas. That storm is going to come northwest, hit somewhere around Friday morning around Daytona Beach. But look at this track. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's going to approach South Carolina near Charleston and then make a U-turn and go back out into the Atlantic Ocean. And there are some models that is indicating possibly that this thing could make a U-turn and come back west again, possibly going into the Gulf at the first of the week. So that's something wild. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. And again, this is a view of Matthew right here. Let me take this down a little bit and show you this picture of it. This is what the storm looks like on satellite, on regular satellite, not the infrared that we showed you here. But that is a nasty looking hurricane, folks. That is a Category 3 storm. They're believing that it may go up to as high as a Category 4 before this thing is out. And over the next few days on our podcast, we'll be giving you updates, and we'll get pictures in. We'll share them with you as well. But this is what's ahead for Florida. This is what's ahead for South Carolina. And folks, we want to say to you all down there tonight, we love you, and we're praying for you. And we want you all to be safe, hunker down, make the preparations that you need to, and Godspeed over the next few days, because this thing is going to create a lot of damage, a lot of death. 25 deaths already in the Caribbean, and that total is probably going to go up. They're expecting nearly 40 inches of rain in the Bahamas. The winds are 130 miles an hour. They're thinking that that's going to sustain itself, be sustained by the time it hits the Florida coastline. And it's going to be a very tragic storm for the coast. But anyway, that is what we want to show you there. I did want to show you this picture here. This is the one where actually the U-turn is being showed right there. And this right here, let me bring this up a little bit closer. This shows you more of the track that they think that it may take. This is another possible track where it don't take the U-turn, but it's going to skirt the South Carolina and the North Carolina coastline. So anybody along the eastern seaboard tonight, you need to be alert. You need to be monitoring this storm, and you need to be taking preparations as soon as you can for the whatever jaunt this thing takes. And we will definitely be keeping you updated here over the next few days on the Mac Files. And we are, again, praying for everybody along the Florida coast. And I will say this, because I got a youngin' who I love dearly, who's in the panhandle of Florida. The people along the panhandle do not need to just think this is okay, it's going the opposite direction. If this thing jaunts west at any juncture, I mean, if it skirts west at all, this thing could wind up in the Gulf of Mexico, and then God knows where this thing could hit, because it will just drain off that warm water. This thing could regenerate into a 5. The forecasters don't believe it's going to happen. I've been studying weather since I've been a child, and I love weather. It's just one of my hobbies. And looking at what I was looking at tonight and the direction that I'm signaling to my youngin' to come on down. He thinks he's going to interrupt my podcast. Anyway, this direction, the direction of this storm tonight, if it keeps going northwest, it's going to go across Florida into the Gulf. Now, they're thinking it's going to turn due north and go up near Daytona and hit Charleston. And I hope it does. I mean, I don't hope it hits anywhere, but that's what they're thinking. But my warning tonight before I leave this podcast is those of you in the Panhandle, Southwest Georgia, Southeast Alabama, you all need to be monitoring this too. Just because it's headed that general direction east of you, I would take this very seriously and understand that this thing could turn and go anywhere. But anyway, that is that. Listen, I have a lot more to talk about tonight, but I'm going to call it quits for this evening. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I know we've talked on a lot of provocative stuff, and hey, that's what the Mac Files is about, baby. This is No Spin Zone. Bill O'Reilly has nothing on the No Spin Zone when it comes here, because we just tell you like we see it. We don't expect you to agree with all of it, but this is how we feel about things, and we love you the same, and we're just glad that you're part of these broadcasts. And look, we believe that our country, we're in some serious trouble, folks, with our country. We just are. And I just believe that things have got to change soon, and if they don't, we're going to be in a mess. Government for the people, by the people, and of the people, which will always stand. And that's what this broadcast is about, and we hope that we're trying to say some things to make sure our country stays on this track. Folks, we're very close to not being this kind of government, and it's very sad. So as we say goodnight tonight, we just want to tell you again, down in Florida, South Carolina, please be safe. Heads up down that way. And again, we appreciate you for joining us on this Max File on a Wednesday night, October the 5th, 2016. We are just 33 days from the election of our president, and that will be either Hillary Rodham Clinton or Donald J. Trump. And we pray that you go out and vote and let your voice be heard one way or the other. We're on the Trump train. We don't make no bones about it, but vote, no matter what train you're on. Make sure you go vote November the 8th. God bless everybody. Godspeed. God bless America. God be with you, and good night from here in the hills of East Tennessee. You have a blessed night. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the Mac Files. Good night, everybody.
The government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish.
Of the people, by the people, for the people.
And that governments of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth.